talk a little college hoops. Yesterday we asked who's the best of the best, who deserves the number 1 seed. Well, the AP Top 25 poll did come out, and I think we were right, and honestly, we were talking about the top four. The top four moved up. Iowa State was the biggest mover. They moved up to 4 in the country, moved up 6 spots. Arizona takes the number 1 spot. Michigan moves to 2, Duke with 3. We talked about all 4 of those teams just last week, or just yesterday, excuse me. Arizona, I don't know if they deserved the number 1 spot. They just won it by a couple, 20 points, but it's too early to tell. I still think Michigan's the best team in the country. But let's talk the best of the rest right now. You gave a crazy stat to me the other day talking about the AP Top 12. What was that?
So this is since 2004, this statistic is out, and I guess I don't have it in front of me, so I'm going to kind of go off the dome here. Since 2004, every national champion in this week 6 AP poll has been ranked in the top 12. And I wonder if a team like Illinois that's at 13 could kind of break that, but I also don't really know if anyone outside of the top 4 is capable of winning a title. Arizona, Michigan, Duke, Iowa State, I think are your front runners right now. You're going to have teams like Gonzaga that are in that conversation. I don't ever trust Purdue in the postseason. And then at 12, you have Alabama, Louisville 11, BYU 10 is a name that a school that I would maybe look at, but Michigan State feels out of place. Houston feels out of place in comparison. Obviously, Houston, a very, very good team, but we're looking at those top 4 as up until this point in the season. I'd like to see more from Houston. How do you feel about those top 12 teams? Are there any that feel out of place to you? Or are there any in the top 25 that aren't in that top 12, like the 13 to 25 range that you think could win it?
No, I think that the top 12, when you look at them right now, I think the AP did a really good job at voting these. I think we'll see what happens with teams like Louisville if they fall even more, and if Purdue falls even more. Obviously, they have to make a statement comeback win, or if it's just the fact that Iowa State is that good. I'm interested to see. We already talked about the top 4 teams. I'm interested to see what happens with a team like UConn, who obviously had a terrible, and I wouldn't say terrible, but it was a loss to Arizona. They only lost by 4. But it felt like a game that they should have won. That's what I felt when I watched that game. UConn should have won that game. We're talking about Arizona as the number 1 team in the country right now, and their only loss of the year is a 4-point win that I think they should have won against Arizona. They already have a good win against BYU. They're going to play Florida tonight, and I think that's going to be a really epic game. Florida, you know what? That's probably a team outside the 12. Florida, national champion right now. They're currently 18th in the country. If anybody, I think, out of all those teams that are outside the top 12, that could make a run at it, I think Florida could. I mean, they're not the same Florida Gator team they were last year, and by any stretch of imagination, I think they lost to TCU, but I think they could figure it out. Todd Golden knows what he's doing.
They did lose to TCU. Obviously, the 1-point loss to Duke is pretty solid. I mean, obviously, could have lost that by a lot more. So there's that to be hopeful about. But yeah, I look forward to that Connecticut and Florida game. I think that'll be really telling for both of these teams. I agree with you. I brought up all those teams that I don't think are really in a great spot in the top 12. Connecticut isn't out of that. Like they're still kind of in there. They're almost in a gray zone for me. Like I'm going to give them the benefit of the doubt because they are UConn. There's something there with Danny Hurley too. Like, I mean, it's just a mentality thing. I would say maybe if there's anyone outside the top 12, I would lean almost Texas Tech. But that just feels wrong to me just because I know of what they're capable of doing in the Big 12. I think Florida has fallen off a little bit. UConn is definitely in there. I would give them a nod. But I think this top 12 is pretty true. I'm looking at the top 4 personally. I think those 4 teams are just the best right now.
I think we're going to start adding in. I think we start after today's game. I think UConn, if and only if Terrace Reed Jr. plays, he's a game time decision. If Terrace Reed Jr. plays and they take down Florida handily, I think we start adding UConn to the conversation. Terrace Reed Jr. did not play in that game against Arizona when they lost. In the game against BYU and they won, he had 21 points. He was electric. He shot 8 for 10 for the field. He is a very good player. That player, he is UConn's best player. But when he's not on the court, they are a completely different team. If he plays tonight against Florida, I think we start to see UConn kind of move themselves into that top 4 conversation. Personally, that's where I sit.
I don't hate that either. And looking at their schedule, this is kind of the advantage that UConn has being in the Big East. They're going to play Florida. They're going to play Texas. And then they don't really play anybody but St. John's the rest of the season, right? They play like Creighton, I guess. Villanova. Georgetown could be pretty good this year, but you're
Seton
not going
Hall
to
looks
be
pretty good.
Seton Hall. I'm looking at it from the perspective of look at my back wall. Like they're not going to be playing BYU, Kansas, Houston. Like even in the top 25 here, like Texas Tech. You're just not having that level of competition, which is Arizona. Like I think the Big 12 weathers itself down a little bit throughout the course of the season. They kind of get ready for battle throughout their Big 12 conference play, whereas UConn makes their case early, and then we revisit at in March or whatever it is when it's time to watch them play the big dog. So I have a hard time really watching myself the rest of the season keep UConn in the front of mind. But after this Florida game, after this Texas game, and then a couple of other games in there, they could persuade me to like, hey, keep an eye on this UConn team, watch them play a few games. They could stick around this conversation for sure.
They're not the Big 12, and I'll give you that. And they're not the SEC, and that's probably the two best conferences in college basketball now. Obviously, honestly, Big 10 might have some conversation this year, too. There's a lot of really good Big 10 teams, but there are 6 Big East teams in the top 60 in KenPom. So I think they're a lot better of a conference than I think you're giving credit to right now. So just maybe put a little respect on the Big East, okay? They are on the East Coast.
Maybe it's
put
my
some respect
personal
on them.
experiences with UConn that I just don't give them the benefit of the doubt. But yeah, no, I mean the Big East is definitely a decent conference. It's no Big 12, it's no SEC, but it's also better than a lot of them out there. So you're right. I should probably pump the brakes on that. That's on
In
me.
the eyes of KenPom, UConn is 7th, Florida is 14th. So it should be a top 15 KenPom matchup for tonight's matchup for the big game of the night. That should be really fun. Speaking of, while we're just at KenPom, Michigan, Iowa State, Gonzaga, Duke, Arizona, number 1 team in the country, according to AP poll, is only 5, according to KenPom. And I think that makes more sense than what the AP vote does. We talked about that yesterday. I think we all agree Michigan's the best team in the country right now. I know you have stuff on your background that says otherwise, but Iowa State is at 2. I mean, I don't think you could be upset at that at all either.
Not on KenPom. Yeah, I mean, I wasn't really sitting here banging the drum for Iowa State at 1. I was shocked that they came in at 4.
I knew they were going to be the biggest movers, man. I knew it.
They made a huge jump from 10 to 4, but I was, and I don't really care, to be honest. Like, it's just an AP poll. It is what it is. Honestly, I mean, we watched Iowa State climb to 2 last season, and I'm not saying it got to their heads, but they fell off a little bit. It was injury, I think, based, but it was kind of ugly. So I'm okay with them being lower for the team's perspective. I was just shocked that, is it like they can't let them move too much? They can't let them go from 10 to 2. It's too shocking. Who has Iowa State played this season that they haven't looked really good against? It's just that they haven't played enough people, I guess. So I mean, Arizona's a very, very good team, though. Like that's the thing, is if you want to argue them at 1 or 4 or 5, like I genuinely think the top 4 could probably go in just about any order. Michigan probably deserves to be 1. And then from 5 to, maybe 10, you're going to have a little bit of movement. I think it's kind of in tiers right now for me is how I'm looking at it. I'm still hung up on the Iowa State thing, but it is what it is.
Latest ESPN bracketology came out just a few hours ago, since we've discussed. Arizona, Duke, Iowa State, and Michigan all hold the number 1 seeds at the moment in the latest bracketology, but he gave the top overall seed to, guess who? Michigan. So we are all on page with that, as seeing them as the best team in the country. Just to wrap it up, while we'll talk about it, we're talking about the best of the rest. Well, on the bubble is always a good thing to talk about. He's got Ohio State, Oklahoma State, Baylor, and NC State as the last 4 buys. Last 4 in, got a couple of Big East teams: Seton Hall, Villanova, VCU, and UCF. So, I mean,
a lot of Big 12 in there. Wow.
Yeah, Big 12, Big East is as some potential Dayton matchups. That could be pretty fun to wrap up this season of March Madness. Let's get out of here. Let's get some caffeine. Let's not talk about Chrome Domes anymore. I think that's probably smart. And I appreciate everyone listening and talking in here to Marv and Rauh in the morning. We'll be back here tomorrow with another episode, of course, bringing you more morning coverage, everything in the name of sports. Marv, I'll see you tomorrow.
Hey, tomorrow it is.